Marc Raimondi for ESPN back with you today with a special guest. Has a fight coming up at UFC 273 against Darian Weeks, one of the hottest prospects in all of MMA. Ian, the future Garry, Dublin zone, 24 years old, 1-0 in the UFC, had a knockout in his debut back at MSG in November. I'm going to ask you about all these things, but I want to ask you first, Ian, where are you right now? I know you're training at Sanford MMA in Florida, but got like a beautiful view behind you. It looks like you're in the lap of luxury.
Yeah, this is my new apartment in South Florida. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's definitely different than where I lived in Dublin, but it's a step forward in the right direction to being the best fighter in the world. And yeah, I'm definitely not going to complain about the sunshine every day. I'm not going to complain about it.
How long have you been down there now?
We came back, so I came here in August to get the first camp done on the Sanford, right. And then we went home for a couple of weeks. I was done with the freezing cold, and I think that 2.5 weeks later we were back. So I came back here on the 17th of December, and we came here, found the place, flipped it before Christmas, and have been here since.
So are you almost a Floridian at this point?
Oh, I'm based in Florida now. That's it done. I'm based in Florida. And like, that's why, like, when you see stuff about, like, people ask me why I'm not on UFC London, it's like, I'm based in Florida now. Like, I'm here. Like, I'm Mr. Pay-Per-View. I'm fighting on all the pay-per-view cards. I'm not, like, I'm here in the US, and I want to experience every city, every place I possibly can go. And the perfect way to do that is to be forced to go to a different pay-per-view and see a different city. So I've not been up to Jacksonville, Florida. I'm excited to go up there next. And seeing New York in my debut was awesome. So yeah, it's exactly what I want. Fighting is going to help me travel the world.
And being in the U.S., I mean, a lot of European fighters do stay. You know, some of them do come to the United States. You know, Michael Bisping, one of the best examples. You know, came to California many years ago and you know, built his camp there. Is that the plan? Is that the plan? And is that the reason why to have the most opportunities you can have?
Yeah, well, I think the obvious reason I'm being here is the coaching and the teammates that Sanford possesses. They're just world class. I say this every interview I do, but I can't not say it. It's like they're one of the best gyms in the world for a reason, and I believe that the skill set that I can adapt and develop underneath the tutelage of Greg Jones, Henry Hooft, and just all the other coaches, Jason Strout, me and him working a lot of boxing. It's just like, all of these coaches and all these teammates can push me to be that bit better. And that's basically what I plan on doing, is just evolving and growing fight by fight by fight. It's just get better and better and better.
Yeah, I mean, the proof is in the pudding at Sanford. So many great fighters coming out of there. Kamaru Usman, you know, developed his game there to become UFC welterweight champion. Gilbert Burns, Michael Chandler. Who are some of the people that you're working with down there as far as fighters go?
My number one training partner would be Jason Jackson. He's an animal, and I'm looking forward to seeing him step back into the Bellator cage against Lima, if that when that happens. But that's what I'm looking forward to. I do a lot of work with Gilbert. I do a lot. Do you know what? Here's the thing. I do a lot of work with everyone. Like, I mean, there's so many guys that I could say her name. Someone who I like to kind of work with is Delano. He's a postman. He's very long range, like me. So me and him would like to pick each other off and try to work our games. But dude, the talent on the mat, it doesn't matter who I'm going with, they're all elite. And it's nice to be able to take certain parts of everyone's game and try to adapt it into my own, which is all I want to do, is learn and grow. So being at Sanford, I'm just blessed to be surrounded by the guys. And it's awesome. And I give it back. Don't you worry. They learn from me too.
So I want to start, there's a lot I want to ask you about, but I want to start from the beginning first, you know, because you're still pretty new to this whole thing. You know, you got your first amateur fight in late 2017. You know, you haven't been training for as long as many others, you know, many peers of yours. So how did this start? How did you take up MMA? How did you get the MMA bug? I know you started out doing other sports, boxing, but how did MMA come about?
So I've always had an interest in martial arts. I've always had an interest in some sort of combat sport. When I was younger, I started with boxing. Then I found my way into judo. That was mainly to get me out of school, to get me out of studying and homework. I like to keep myself active. But it was really the rise of Conor and the boom of MMA in Ireland and Europe when he started to kind of be that superstar. And everyone was talking about me, and everyone was watching the fight. So that was kind of really it. And I'm of the generation that was a fan as a kid that is now stepping into the octagon because I've followed my dreams. You know, I'd always liked it, but that kind of was like, right, I want to do that. And yeah, I was hooked on it ever since I walked into the gym. That's it, me done. I haven't looked back. Feels like it was kind of yesterday, and the rest is just a flash. It's like, oh, here I am standing in the UFC cage, in the UFC octagon in Madison Square Garden, Bruce Buffer screaming my name, and in the future Ian Garry going around the LED signs, going, oh, fuck, okay, this is real. All right, okay.
Do you remember when like you first heard or saw Conor?
I actually remember specifically the moment where I used to work in Louis Copeland's, which was a suit shop that Conor McGregor was going into when he started off his career. And I remember specifically being in do you know the cargo containers that you see being shipped on like across the seas full of goods and packages? We had, in Ireland, we had one of them out the back of our school as our changing room, right? That was our changing room. Stank, right? It was rotten. Got in there in and out as fast as we could. But I remember specifically someone saying to me, hey, have you met Conor? Like, has he been in the shop at all? And me going, no. The next day, I was in work. He was in the shop. I was like, no way. Like, that was like the first time I'd met him. I kind of like, that was the rise of him. That was just when he got the tattoo and everyone was talking about him. But that was the kind of the big moment. I think it was just as he was making his second UFC appearance. I think it was against. Actually, it wasn't. I think it was against just coming up to Poirier.
What year? What year was that?
2000. Put me on the spot. 2014, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was so did you know of him? You knew who he was already though, right?
Yeah, I knew who he was already, but that was kind of the first time like everyone started speaking about him. Like people who had no idea what fighting was and were speaking in the training room because they knew I liked fighting. That was the real time when everyone started speaking about him. And that was kind of when I was like, right, I'm hooked on this sport. I'm in love with it. I want to do it.
Were you already training MMA at that point?
Nope. I didn't start training MMA until I was like 18 and a half. I made my first amateur fight when I was 19 and made my pro debut when I was 21. 23 UFC debut at Madison Square Garden is not too bad. So I'm only a pup in this game, and I've done so much in such a short time, and I plan on doing the exact same. I plan on like genuine. I say like I'm ready to like sit back and wait and develop my game. It's not like I'm not planning on taking over the division in X amount of time. I'm just going to let it happen. It's going to happen as fast as or slow as I'm ready for. If I go out there and I start blitzing lads just in first round every single time, then it's obvious. Do you know what I mean? You look at someone like Kamzat, who's gone out there and he's done exactly what he's needed to do every time. Now he's fighting Gilbert Burns. It's like, dude's had 4 fights in the UFC and he's fighting for a number 1 contender spot. It's like, that, I don't see my rise being that fast because I've got way more time than all those dudes. I've got time to develop my game and be the best me I could possibly be so that when I'm ready to step in for that title, I'm going to fight, I'm going to win, and then the division's mine until I'm done. Until I go, do you know what? See you later, boys. You just aren't good enough. And that's my plan. So I'm in no rush.
So before you met Conor at the suit shop, you were just doing boxing pretty much at that point.
Yeah, I at that point I just finished boxing.
Okay.
Because I wanted to try something new. People left the gym when I was a kid, and you know when you make friends and they leave, it's like I don't have the drive to go there anymore. So yeah, I just started focusing on Irish sports like hurling and Gaelic, and playing with the guys. I moved school at that point and everything, so it was like, all right, I'm gonna train with these guys and just get into the kind of the circle. And then yeah, just, the longer it went on, the more I went, I don't want to do any of this. I want to get my hands on a human and just like drag them around and just hit them or do something. It's just, you get this itch. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but like every time I finish a fight, I get this itch to go back to training, where like my missus will say to me, she's like, you're getting agitated. You need to go back to the gym. she's like, I can just see it in you. Like, one of my friends will come up and give me a hug, and I'm like, oh, I just grab him, and she's like, careful, don't break someone. Like, just, you don't need to squeeze them so hard. But yeah, it's just, I can't help it. It's just in me. Like, I'm a competitor. I like to compete. I like to train. I like that atmosphere. So yeah, it's just always been in me, even from a young age.
What was the name of that suit shop that you worked in? Do you remember the name?
Louis Copeland's.
Louis Copeland's. Okay.
Yeah.
So Conor comes in that day. What's your interaction like with him? Do you guys talk?
Yeah, I got a picture with him. Ran upstairs. I remember I walked in because I was having I went down and got lunch for everyone because I was going on my lunch break and everyone was busy. I was like, anyone want lunch? And I was like, where are you going? McDonald's. They're like, all right, yeah, grab me this. So I came back with like 5 bags of McDonald's in my arms. And as I opened the door, I kind of just cornered my eyes, seeing this dude with his top off, putting on a shirt, like, start. Walk up the stairs, drop all the things down, go look at the cameras and go, this fucking Conor, let me go downstairs, walk straight down. I was like, right, what's up? Boom, how are we? And then the manager, who was a friend, one of my dad's friends, like, Conor, this is him. Chap's an animal at boxing. And the Conor was like, yeah, why don't you come down to the gym, bro? And I was like, tell my mom
that. Did you take him out on that offer? Did you go down to SBG?
No, you know what? I did. I was actually about to say no. I did eventually when I was in college, just before I made the decision to leave college. I went down on a trial period to SBG where Conor was training because it was close to where my college was. It was like 10 minutes in Lewis. And I went down and I was like, this is just, no, it wasn't good enough for me at the time. I just didn't, they were putting more focus on the higher guys and I just wanted to get in there and I wanted to learn. Like I knew, you know, like, it's hard to explain to someone when you walk into the gym as someone who's never done MMA before, right? Like, I've never done kickboxing or karate. I had never done anything along those lines. Like, I didn't know how to kick. I knew how to punch. I knew how to punch well. And I knew how to kind of like grapple in a sense of like not fully jiu-jitsu. But in judo, you do like throws, you do a bit of groundwork. So I knew basics. It's hard to go in there and explain to someone that you want to go with the best guys because you know you can beat them. Even though you couldn't at that point, but you know you can. It's hard to explain that to someone. And they just didn't get it at the time. And that would just made me go to a gym that was closer to my home. And I loved it. And then that just kind of spiraled on.
Seeing someone like Conor, you know, because he was on his rise at that point, you know, he was in the UFC, he was developing, you know, a big name, and, you know, he's a big star now, but to see him then, and he's right in front of you, and he's a man, and he's Irish, and he's from Dublin. I mean, did that affect you in that, hey, if he's right here, he's right in front of me, this is a guy from the neighborhood, you know, from the city that I grew up in, I can do the same thing. Is that part of the inspiration?
Not necessarily. I mean, it doesn't have like people like when I do interviews and when people talk to me, everyone relates to Conor with obvious reasons, right?
Sure.
As you said, both.
But you embrace that too. You embrace.
Of course, I understand. Come here. I completely understand. I completely understand it. But you understand it's like born and bred in the same city, like both Irish, both obviously in the same line of work. Do you know what I mean? Have the same passion, same goals, and similar like charisma, similar like both loud, talk the talk, walk the walk. You know what I mean? He's proved that I have yet to prove it to the extent of what he has. Like every fight that I have, I've gone out and done what I needed to do. But it's not necessarily the fact that it was Conor per se, in the sense that it was like Dublin and Ireland and everything. It was more the fact that everyone in the dog in Ireland was talking about him. And everyone, even all the stuff I'd see from like the English media and like European media in regards to like Conor, it was like the dude is a worldwide superstar. And it's like the only thing I can relate it to is like when you look at something like The Last Dance and you watch Michael Jordan and he goes to Barcelona and there's just a big billboard of him and it's like, wow, it's like he was a superstar. People all around the world took inspiration from what he did and his enthusiasm for the sport and his will to win. And I think that was like, it doesn't actually have to do with anything that the fact is Conor's from the same area as me, but more the fact that how hungry he was, how his mindset was, and how he didn't give a fuck about what you, me, or anyone else on this planet thinks. I'm going to go in there on Saturday night, and I'm going to knock out Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, anyone who they put in front of him. His mentality was, I'm the best fighter on this planet. No one can tell me otherwise. And that was more kind of the mentality. It's like, yeah, I've seen him do it. And maybe I can. It's like, it's the attitude of what's in here. It's like his mentality, his mental warfare was phenomenal. And it was just down to sheer belief. And I have that as well. I'm like, I don't care what someone thinks I'm going to do. Or like, I see people speak about my debut. It's like, oh, he was getting pieced up. It's like, good, think that. Because then the next fight, you're going to come up with another excuse. And the fight after that, there's going to be another excuse. The same thing. Well, Conor hasn't fought an American-style wrestler. Goes in, knocks Chad Mendes out. You know, he hasn't fought like someone as aggressive as Jose Aldo. Boom, 13 seconds, the pound-for-pound king gets put out. There's always something, Mark. And it's like, when you don't believe anything that you hear and you know how good you are, that is more what drives me. Is I'm very similar. It's like, I left college to pursue MMA. And I didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell my dad, I didn't want their opinion. It was my decision. And it's that kind of like, I'm going to trust in myself, and I'm not going to let anyone else point me in any directions other than what I want to do and what my heart tells me.
And I want to ask you about that. So you were in college. What were you studying, and where were you going?
I didn't want to study anything. I didn't want to go in the first place. I went to a place in Dublin called DIT. And yeah, I didn't want to go in. I made a promise with my mom, because she was like, oh, Ian, come on, you have to go to college. You have to do this. Like, you need it for a good job. I'm like, I don't want to do it. Like, I was like, but she was adamant. And from her point of view, it was her trying to do the best for her child and point me in the right direction. And I get it. But that wasn't what I wanted to do. And I knew that. And it's hard. So I was studying retail and services management purely because I hadn't a fucking clue what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go there in the first place. So I'd done something that would relate to my family in some way. Both sides of my family own businesses. One in retail and services. My granddad started a electrical wholesales, and then my other granddad started a window cleaning company. So I was like, right, there's the services and there's the retail. I'm like, if nothing happens, at least I can work here, or I can do something. I was like, right. And then after the first year, I was like, I'm not fucking doing this. I'm not spending. I will go insane if I have to sit here and listen to someone talk shit at the top of the table to me. I'm not doing it. So yeah, I made the decision, signed the form to quit, and was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not going back. I rang my uncle on the way home. I was like, hey, I kind of need a job. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I quit college. I want to work, and I want to start MMA. He's like, all right, when can you start? I'm like, well, when can you take me on? Because I'm ready to go. And that was just it. The next 2.5 years, 3 years was me just working every morning and then training every night. And then I slowly after obviously 2 years, I started when I realized, right, I'm going to go professional. My amateur career was successful. It was like, right, I'm going to start making the move to professional. I want to kind of take a step back from work. So I started to do like half days. I was working like half weeks. I was doing like 3 days work instead of 6. And I started training Wednesday mornings with my team. And it was just like, I kept going, I kept learning, I kept trying to get as much time on the mats as I could. And every decision I've ever made was right. Do you know what I mean? It's got me to where I am now, and I'm fighting on my second pay-per-view card and my second fight in the UFC.
Now, your parents, your mom specifically, was not on board at first with this move to MMA, right? You quit college, you start training, you started cleaning windows with your uncle. Your mom's not happy about this, right? Can you tell me that story?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, any man or mother in the world who wants to ensure their child is getting the best education, the best kind of job, like, right, society is this now. You go to school. When you go to finish school, you go to college. When you finish college, you have a degree, you get a job, you earn more money. It's bullshit, right? It's bullshit. Because I can't sit in front of a college room. I can't sit in a lecture and stay still and listen and focus. I can't do it. So it ain't for me. You know, it's just, that wasn't how I was supposed to be educated or how I was supposed to be. You know, when I was in school as a young kid, I get in trouble a lot for being fidgety and talking and being loud. It's like, I can't help myself, right? So sitting down in the classroom and being quiet and listening to one person talk shit isn't what I can do. So her aspect was, Ian, you've got to get a good degree so that you can get a good job, because when you get a good job, you can get married, have kids, you have a house. You know where I'm going with this, right? Every mother's had the conversation with a son, right? And if they haven't, then fucking fair play to that kid. But she just wanted to do the best for me, and I understand it, but she just didn't get it. And as I said to you earlier on, it's hard to explain to someone that you just know what your destiny is, if that makes sense. Like, I believe that even without Conor, like, or whatever it may have been that would draw me to MMA, I'd find my way there eventually, whether it's walking past the gym on the street or whether it's someone trying to fight me outside a nightclub, and then you never know. You don't know what would happen, right? But luckily it was, oh, by the way, I've never been in a fight, thank God. But like, you don't know how it happens. Destiny just pulled me towards that, and I just knew it was going to happen. So yeah, she wasn't happy. She wrote me a letter to tell me how disappointed she was with my decision, and that being the next Conor McGregor is in a fucking plan. Yeah, and I made sure.
What did this letter say? Can you, like, do you remember like exactly what the words were?
Yeah, so literally, being the next Conor McGregor is not a fucking plan. Well, like, with the exact words, which is funny now because of the comparisons, right? Just
when was this? Like, how? Like, what year do you remember?
I want to say 2017, 2016, right. 2017.
Because that was the year that you really started training, like for real. Right?
Yeah. And then I made my
amateur debut at the end of that year. Yeah.
Exactly. So it would have been about 2017. Towards I can't remember. It's around that time.
What's your mom's name?
Suzanne.
Is Suzanne okay with this now? Has she come around on MMA?
She's well on this now. She's got her flights booked for Florida. She's coming over to Jacksonville. She's excited. She's buzzing to see me fight. She obviously was devastated she couldn't be at the last fight. So yeah, she's excited now. And like, look, I understand that it took her a while to come around. I understand that it wasn't like her dream for me to go into fighting, but it's like, as I said to her, it's not her life, and I'm not going to have someone else dictate what I do. And as hard as that was for her, I definitely made the right decision, Mark. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm sitting here now and I'm a UFC fighter. I can say that. I can say I've made it to the UFC. I've had a successful UFC debut, and I plan on having a very, very, very successful UFC career. So
have you talked to her at all about that letter? Like, since then, do you laugh about it now?
So after I won my world title in Cage Warriors, me and my now wife were going away for a holiday, and we had it all booked. But when I came home, all my friends and family were at my house, and it was awesome. They were all there. They were all at the airport, and then they all came back to the house. And we had a party to celebrate me winning the world title, and it was awesome. And my mom was the last person to leave, and there was about 4 people in the room. And I looked at my mom, and my belt was on the table right beside a cake that said, "You're a fucking champion." And I looked at her and I went, "Well," and she went, and she knew exactly, you know, when you look at someone and they know what you want them to say, but they don't say it because they want you to explain it. I was like, "I think you have something to say, man." And she's like, "Do you want me to say sorry?" I'm like, "Yeah, tell me I was right." And she was like, "You were right." I'm like, "I love you. Thank you." And that was it. We joke about it now. She jokes about it because when we released that clip in the lead up to my UFC debut, it was all over the newspapers at home in Ireland. Like, Ian Garry's mother doesn't approve of MMA career. So that was awesome. She hated it, obviously.
Too funny.
But I love it. But yeah, it was, look, she done what she thought was best. And at the end of the day, that's her job. She's my mom. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not going to sit here and say I was happy that I didn't listen to her, right? I done what I thought was best, and I was right.
Just a couple more things, man, and thank you again for taking the time out. I know you're very busy. you win the Cage Warriors welterweight title. And there was adversity going into that fight too. I read about, your team left you. You had an injury. Can you tell me about how that all came about?
Yeah. So leading up to my world title fight, about 5 weeks out, I tore my PCL. So like couldn't walk for a week. Was getting physio 3 times a week. And was just sitting at home on the couch, like hating life in a sense of like, I know I have a world title fight, the biggest fight. Every fight is the biggest fight of my career, right? But like a world title fight that I know when I win will get me to the UFC. Like I knew that the UFC were watching. I knew I'd go in there and I'd do what I do best, which is win and look good doing it. It's like I knew the UFC contract was going to come. So when I'm sitting there on a couch a couple of weeks out from a world title fight and I'm not training and I'm doing everything I can, I'm going down to the gym, I'm doing like upper body in a sense of lifting, I'm doing everything I can to kind of keep my lungs going, my body moving, but not really using my legs. And then I was building back up strength, building back up kind of flexibility in my leg and control. And it was just about, as my physio at the time, Shay, said, like confidence builds confidence. So like I learned very quickly that I couldn't use my right leg to kick, because anytime I did, it was a shock pain, like everything stopped. So I was like, right, so I've got to go into a world title now, barely being able to like walk. And then I just had this bulletproof attitude of like, if I can walk, I can win. If I can walk, I can win. If I can walk, I can win. Like all I need to win now is just be able to throw a jab. If I can do that, I'll win the fight, because he won't be able to stop it. And I wasn't wrong. I used a lot of left kicks because I could stand at like the last week and a half, I got really strong. And just that belief again, as I said to you, it kept me going. And yeah, just 10 days out before my world title fight, my team abandoned me and they left. And I was like, all right, fine, go fuck yourself. If you want to leave this now, then that's on you.
Why? Why did they do that?
Dude, I'm not even getting into it at this stage. I'm so far past it. It's like, yeah. I understand, like, people want to know, but it's like, you know what? It's just behind me. They had their reasons, whether they were fair or not. They they made a decision that they're going to have to live with, and they've possibly gotten rid of one of the greatest talents that's ever going to step foot into MMA, and I'll stand by that by the time my career's done. I'll sit here and I'll say, do you remember I said I was going to be one of the best ever? Yeah, they fucked up. But that's on them. Do you know what I mean? I didn't need them. I was there because I wanted to be there. I had thoughts of leaving anyway and going to a gym like Sanford, because I just knew I needed better opponents. But dude, I'm not sitting here saying I wouldn't wish that I was still a part of that team. Like, I didn't choose to leave, but everything worked out for me the right way. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and complain either. It is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, we move onwards and upwards, and we approach adversity the same way we approach anything. We fucking kick the door down, we run through it. So yeah, I won a world title fight with no team, no corner. Do you know what I mean? I showed up for a fight week with just my missus. And I was like, right, fuck it. I was like, well, I need a friend in the thing. So she was there with me. And the promoter of the show, he was like, you need someone in your corner. I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, look, I'm not having you go into a world title fight with no cornerman. I'm like, why? No, I don't want anyone. Like, my team left me, so fuck them. Let me just go do me. I thought that would be like a fucking strong image of like walking out to a world title fight on my own, winning a world title fight on my own. So they made me have someone in my corner. So I went down, knocked on the door, asked my mate what he do, and he was like, yeah. He is now the current interim featherweight champion in Cage Warriors, Paul Hughes. Shout out to him. He had my back. So yeah, I just went down and done me. Do you know what I mean? I won a world title with an injury, overcome a hell of a lot of adversity. And 12 hours later, I was getting an email from my UFC contract. And that's all she wrote. That's why I say everything's behind me, dude. It's all behind me.
And I want to ask you about that too. You know, you make it's not just any old debut. It's
yeah.
Your debut, Madison Square Garden. It's pay-per-view card, UFC 268.
Yeah.
How cool is that? I mean, what was that experience like?
Biggest card of the year against the most, like, it just against all, like, everything that was going on that whole week was just so overwhelming in regards to like the amount of interviews, seeing like the stars, like just all these guys that I've sat and watched fight, just seeing them all walk around the building. It was awesome. It was an experience. And stepping into that cage, when I seen like my name go around the LED signs, hearing the fans scream when my name was getting announced by Bruce Buffer, it was like, shit, this is what I dreamed into reality. And now I get to go in there and I get to put on a show. Took a couple of hits to wake me up, to kind of take me back into where I was. But then I got the job done in the first round, and I couldn't be happier. The performance I wasn't happy with, but like, I'm not going to complain. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to run with it. And on to the next one we go. I get to go in there and show even how crisp and clean I am now this time in Jacksonville.
What do you know about your opponent now, Darian Weeks? He's coming off a loss, but pretty good grappler. What is your assessment of him?
I still haven't watched him, and I don't plan on watching him. I don't want to. I've no need to. One of the main things that I've been saying to everyone is I want to work on me and my skill set and improve everything that I need to improve to get better. Not focus on how I can shut someone down or how I can work around someone's game plan. I'm going to go out there and do what I do best, and he's going to have to deal with that. He's going to be the one that has to adapt to what I'm doing, and I'm not going to sit there and plan for anything he does. Whatever he brings, I'll be ready for, because I'm a better fighter, but he's going to have to adapt to what I bring.
Last thing, you have embraced kind of the Conor McGregor conversation. Have you guys spoken at all in the last few months since you've been in the UFC?
After he released all those voice notes about my fight, I sent him a message just thanking him and saying that, look, even the fact that he was saying like he feels motivated by the speech that I gave after the fight, it's like, that's awesome. But I just kind of said, like, any motivation that he's getting from my speech is just, it's just giving back to you, mate. It's just the stuff that you gave me as a kid. It's just full circle now. So yeah, none of that, but eventually we'll get on a card. I'm hoping that the UFC come back to Ireland, come back to Dublin sometime soon, and that me and him can get on a card together, because it'll be absolutely insane. So yeah.
You're 8-0. When he had his 8th pro fight, he was 6-2. He had already lost to Joseph Duffy in Cage Warriors. He was actually he wasn't even in Cage Warriors at that time when he was 6-2. Yeah. So the argument could be made that at this point in your career, you're even ahead of your guy, of Conor.
Dude, I could argue that at 8-0, I'm ahead of most people in MMA ever.
True. Not
just Conor. Do you know what I mean? And that's not me being a big-headed fucking idiot. It's me being realistic. It's like, who do you know that's 8-0? I've just fought for like big promotions, like Cage Warriors, the feeder league into the UFC. That was I made my pro debut there. Had 7 fights in Cage Warriors. Won the world title. Made it look easy on my rise to the title. Then signed for the UFC. Make my UFC debut. Get a first-round knockout. Like, I'm unblemished. I'm 8-0. I'm one of the most talked about prospects, and I've earned it. Do you know what I mean? I work fucking hard to get here. It's like I've not had an easy road to get here, and it's like at 8-0 at 24 years of age, there's not a lot of people in the UFC that are my age, my record, and it's like I've earned the hype that I've got, and I'm going to keep backing it up every single time I step into that cage. And I've told you, I'm going to be one of the best to ever live. I'm going to be one of the best to ever step into that cage, and I'm going to prove it. Just going to take time.
The Conor comparisons, there could be some pressure that comes with that, but you don't feel it.
Being compared to one of the biggest superstars on the planet and the person who changed the sport isn't a bad thing in my eyes. So yeah, I'll take it, run with it.
Fair enough. We will leave it there. Ian Garry, thank you so much. Garry versus Darian Weeks, UFC 273 on April 9th, Jacksonville, Florida. Just maybe like a 5-hour drive or a little more from.
I think it's 4.5. So yeah.
4, yeah. Are you gonna drive or are you gonna fly?
No, I'm gonna drive. Enjoy the road trip.
There you go. It's a beautiful state. Ian, thanks so much, man. I will see you in a few weeks in Jacksonville, and good luck with everything.
Thanks, Mark. Take care. Have a great day, and appreciate the time.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.